You're gonna start. You're gonna start it while I'm saying something stupid, aren't you? We're good now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't see it on here though. Maybe I'm eating up the bandwidth on my laptop. Is that a possibility?
You're eating all the bandwidth up?
Eating all the bandwidth.
All unlimited data.
I gotta watch a commercial to watch my own live stream.
Can we just watch the pop-out chat?
Yeah, I could do that.
You don't need to watch the video. You want as much.
Pop-up chat, pop-up chat. Can I make that bigger? Oh yeah, pop-out chat. Let's do that. And we'll just go straight big.
Okay.
Hello. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
What's up, guys?
Of course, you have to also say hello to people to make sure that they can hear and see us.
Can you hear us?
Can you see us? Can I have a little bit of awesome?
You can have it all.
I don't want all of it.
You're gonna have it all.
This is a check. If you can see and hear us, type so in the YouTube chats so we can confirm. And then we'll get started. And if you can't see or hear us, then we will.
I don't think anybody can hear us. No and no.
Okay. They can't hear us and they can't see us. So they're using mind reading technology. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Hello. How are you doing? It's good to see you. This is Eric. This is
What's up, guys?
Seen him before on the channel. And he drove down all the way from Atlanta again for the, is it fifth time?
Fifth time.
Fifth time. So we could finish up Quad Damage. We released a music video showing the build right before this. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go watch it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm proud of it. So, you know.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah, so thank
I like
you.
it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
We did a lot of work.
I only saw it right before we launched it. I thought it was great. He wanted me to look at it sooner, but I said no, I wanted to see the finished thing. But I thought you did great.
Thank you.
Very good.
Five times he drove down. We worked on this project for a year. I'm going to tell you the story.
A little over a year.
Because we got to record the story. This is a live stream for me and Eric, so we can go back and drink whiskey and reminisce about the horror that this build was. The worst build I have ever done. I'm going to get my pad though, so I need to stand on the pad. Poor Peetsies.
It was tough.
Ugh. So about a year ago, I would say, in July, I think, Eric sent me a message. He was a customer. He's been a customer for a while, and he wanted to build his own computer case, like sell his own computer case, design and sell it and everything. And I was like, dude, don't do this. Instead, come help me out for a while, learn the ropes, and then go make your computer case. And it turns out that we like each other so much that he is part of NSC now.
We did. It was love at first sight.
It was. We got along quite well. So the first thing that I had him do was I had him work on the S4T files. So I already had all the files for the S4T, all the designs done, but I want him to remake everything in CAD or new CAD. But the reason I wanted to do that was so he got really familiar with the build, because if he could translate it, it would have been fine, but I wanted him to really understand it. And while he was doing it, I was like, okay, if there's any transformation ideas that you have, just, go crazy. And so he went a little too crazy.
I did.
And that's how Quad Damage was born. So let's ask get some questions answered, and then we will continue with that part of the story. Any questions in particular, or?
They're asking, what do you think of the mini box X300 and X500?
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to go take a look at it later.
Haven't seen the Form D T1 1.5?
No.
Haven't seen that.
Just the 1.0, which is nice case. I like the looks, the brutality.
What whiskey you got? We didn't bring any, or I didn't bring any, but I believe we had what was available at the time. Jim Beam Black Label. Not too bad.
Okay. Yeah, so back to the story. Quad damage. What was your idea? How were you thinking about that when you were in the computer a year ago?
Well, a year ago when I was looking at the S4T and we were going through the files and designing it, I loved the design. I loved the modularity of it. I loved your original idea of what you wanted the case to be. And of course, naturally, I was just thinking, how can we go more? How can we
Less, more, less, more.
It was a great design, and just playing around with the models, when I get bored or I get something in my head, I really start to dig. And so I thought, what if we took 2 and put them together? What if we took 3 and put them together? What if we went 4? And then what could we actually fit inside of 4? And then it just snowballed. So came up with a bunch of different ideas, and it was around that time that the 3090 launched.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it was coming out. We knew it was coming out, and the customer I had lined up for this build, and not for this build in particular, but I had a customer lined up for a big project,
Right.
and he wanted a 3090.
And I thought, we got to put the 3090 in there. It's got to go. It's got to fit. And it does. But we had to get really creative and create some really awesome brackets. We didn't want to modify. I didn't want to modify the chassis already. I didn't want to modify the case. So we took advantage of the space.
Yeah, so Eric comes to me with the quad damage idea, right? And he shows off to me the project in CAD, and he's trying to pitch it to me. And I'm looking at that and like, okay.
I didn't have to try that hard.
No, I didn't try that hard. I had to like figure out how much this thing was going to cost to make. And it was going to be extremely expensive to get those one-off parts done and everything. But I was like, you know what? This is a cool idea. It showcases the S4T's modularity in a crazy way. Mm-hmm. And the goal for the case, the goal for this mod, was that it was going to be something that customers could actually buy products for, accessories for. So you could buy the S4T and you could buy the kit to make your own quad damage computer case. And that sold me. I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. I'm for that. I'll put money towards that. So then we began that process. So I'm going to answer a couple questions here. Helvetic Imperator says, you were the designers of Skyreach cases? Yes. If it's a positive. Otherwise, I'll just put the blame on somebody else. A very good question. Why not cool the GPU? I'm just saying water cool the GPU.
Why not water cool the GPU?
Yeah. And I want to cover that in detail later, but the bottom line really quick is that the 3090 Founders Edition actually performs better than probably 99% of any liquid cooled setups I've seen using a 3090. But I want to get into that because that's really interesting.
I actually did design.
Yeah. We'll talk about that for sure
iteration.
Too. And then finally, am I selling the case? That's kind of part of the story, is that we wanted to develop the brackets and parts and pieces so you could build your own. And you still can, but we're going to talk about that. Okay, so so we got the design. I green lighted it. So I went to manufacturing because I was getting the parts lined up for the S4T to get manufactured. And it was eye-wateringly expensive to do. I forget how many brackets we ordered. It's not important, but it's a very small run to be able to do this part because it had a special panel with a cutout in it for the reservoir, and it also has a really, really sexy, my favorite bracket ever that you designed to hold the SFX power supply and the GPU. Had to be really sturdy.
All in one.
Yeah. So those were the special parts for that. But went ahead and did it, and we're like, okay, it's approaching December. And Eric comes down, and we are like, okay, this is going to be awesome. We're going to get the parts. I got a hold of a 3090 through my friends on my Discord channel. So if you want graphics cards, our Discord's a great place to find them. I got the 5950X, which I paid a ridiculous amount of money for because people were scalping it like crazy.
Yeah, this was when everything was sold out.
Yeah.
Lines out the door at Micro Center trying to get these things before Christmas, even after Christmas. that was the frustrating part. Was we had this amazing design and we really wanted to get to work on it, but we couldn't find the components quickly or
Yeah.
at an affordable
What we
price.
did though, we got them.
And we ended up paying a lot more.
We
than
paid a lot more
wanted
for
to.
them. We got them though, and we're like, okay, he's gonna drive down. He's gonna spend a day. We're gonna assemble this thing because we planned out everything in CAD exquisite. Look, he did. He planned out everything in CAD exquisitely. I didn't touch the CAD. It was all his work, and I was really excited about it because it was on fire. He'd showed me that he really knew what he was doing. We get the parts in, and we quickly find out that it was gonna take 2 days, at least, to assemble this computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was 3 days, and then it was 4 days, and then you had to go home.
Well, it's amazing when you're working with the model in CAD. You're always so zoomed in,
Yeah.
and there's so much space,
Yeah.
and it just it looks. And then when you get it in hand, you're thinking, how am I going to get my hand in there to attach water cooling loops, or how is this cable going to fit?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Lenovo says, "Do you think the design is space efficient?" I mean, it's so efficient that there's not a single millimeter anywhere that went to waste.
There's no room in that case.
No, there's no room. You have to
Or-
assemble it all in a special order to even get anything in there, like
Yeah.
down to the last screw.
And that took about half a day to figure out the proper order.
And nothing was quite right, like with the CAD and the actual what you get at the end of the day. And we had a hard lesson to go through that I have unfortunately learned over and over again, but Eric needed to learn firsthand, so it was all worth it in the end. Is that it doesn't matter what you have in CAD, it's never going to match up with the actual final product.
Especially when you have a bad CAD model. And we had a bad 3090.
That was the newest mistake ever. I've forgiven
because-
him now.
Because we didn't have the 3090. And so we had to download a CAD model that was absolutely incorrect. And we hoped it was correct. I thought that I was building in enough buffers
Yeah, you're like, oh, you find there's 2
to
millimeters here. I'm
compensate
like,
for the possibility, because you mentioned you're like, don't trust the model, and I was like, okay, but so that was kind of a kick to the project initially, and
but
then
it
we
was
had-
5 times. I mean, we would get to the point where we thought, okay, I'm for certain we're going to be ready to put it together, and we'd have to go back. We'd have to completely remake parts over again. We'd have to edit things with the Dremel, with the angle grinder, sand
Yeah.
things down. We had to drill a bunch of new holes. We remade almost every part in there multiple times. Even the sheet metal was remade because we switched different brackets and stuff, and we 3D printed some stuff, and then we got rid of that. We actually got new ones
yeah,
made.
we discovered that the bracket was pretty awesome, but that 3090 is so heavy that it was
Heaviest
pulling
card ever.
a lot more than we thought it would. But we adapted.
We'll show you the case live for sure.
Yeah, we adapted, overcame. We got that going.
Actually, it's supposed to be on right now, but I went to sleep. just so much
Question is,
stuff.
let
The
me see
big
the
thing was the
case
water block. I'll show you this thing. This was the first iteration. So this is a 2-piece double-sided part. So there's yuck, I hate spiders.
Let me get you a tissue.
So that's four tool changes. No, not 12 tool changes, but we did flip it over multiple times, double-sided
Yeah,
CAD. And the original design, I got to pick on you in the beginning so we can tell the story and how you came
Oh.
to the rescue,
Okay.
right? So don't feel like I'm hating on you here. But the original design, I didn't think was going to work. Don't get me wrong, I got plenty of problems myself, but I didn't like this dual chamber design. I thought it was going to be too turbulent, and we did it anyway, and it just didn't work. So we had to end up making up to 3 more. And one of the proposals that I had that was interesting, that you were right about, was how we have it in the final one with the fill port. I wanted the bottom one too.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I haven't.
Yeah.
You wanted too many fill ports.
I did. I wanted too many filters especially for the first one, because I wanted to make sure if it was going to filter bleed correctly. Yeah, but luckily you came up with a brilliant design. The latest one is so impressive because it bleeds pretty much instantly as long as it's under pressure. Great job. I was really impressed. He taught me how to make O-rings which I didn't know how to do.
We did.
Custom
we made our
O-rings.
Custom O-rings.
Yeah.
They turned out really well. I believe the third iteration would have been perfect, but we cut the channels too deep.
Yeah, so it had a little leak in it.
And then we couldn't overcompensate with bigger O-rings.
So we had to take apart the whole system and
So we had to take
spray
it apart.
out. Oh my gosh.
We took this thing apart and put it back together so many times that.
It takes like an hour to assemble.
But now we got perfect.
Yeah.
The perfect list of how to do it.
Yeah, we
how
do.
to do it correctly.
Yeah. I'm really happy with how that block turned out. And machining this was such a huge learning experience for me because there's all these little features like right here where that little curve, that dip went down. I had to figure out how to use the CAD. And then you went, because you're a wizard with the CAD, and did it like your first try. Super easy, but...
It's called online courses.
I don't have the patience to learn like that. I gotta break things myself, which I do really quickly. Tyrannosaurus Tech asks why we didn't use a typical sandwich layout style. Why didn't you use a typical sandwich style layout?
That's a good question. I believe the initial idea was we needed space for the radiator.
Yeah.
And then we also needed the SFX power supply to fit as well.
Yeah.
Had we gone with the HD Plex, maybe did 2 400s, we probably would have had enough space.
Yeah. So his original design actually had a triple 120 millimeter radiator in it for cooling the graphics card and the CPU.
Right.
And it had to use 2 HD Plex 400s. And I was like, no, if we're going to do this project, we're going to use an SFX power supply because I think that's what people want to see. And again, I was thinking like, okay, this is going to be a retail product type of thing.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a happy accident because going back to the card, we got the card in, we started doing benchmarks because we've just got that 3090 in. And it is the most efficient graphics card, the most efficient cooler I have ever seen on any product ever.
It's stout.
The
It's very good.
radiator on that, or the heat exchanger, depending on what you want to call it, the fins of the 3090 are the same temperature as the die reading that you get. And that is intensely crazy. I've never seen that before. So that's telling you it's taking all that heat and sucking it out basically as fast as that card can generate it.
It's a great card.
Yeah, that cooler.
I did the two designs initially had the full water cool loop with the GPU,
Yeah.
where you didn't need the special bracket, and it would actually just utilize the normal S4T layout. And a lot could fit in there. Obviously, you could fit the 360 radiator.
Yeah.
It did require. We were gonna have to make some kind of CPU pump
Yeah.
block.
Yeah.
all in
That
one
was the only
anyway.
difference. But
But it could have been done. We decided
you still can.
let's just air cool the GPU. It looks great as it is. And we really wanted to show that you could actually fit it.
Yeah.
I think that was like
Because it's huge.
the other conversation that we had. Yeah, we could slap a water block on it. It'd be smaller, and then maybe we could go with a sandwich layout, maybe fit a radiator in there. But the monstrosity of the 3090 when we first held it, it was like let's just show them that this will actually go.
I mean, look at it. This is the size of the card.
Yeah, the card actually sits about here
I mean, it's just
and goes the full extent.
it's just a big giant card. But the cooler is incredible on it. And once we got in there, the fan actually sucks air through the vents of the case and blows it onto the motherboard. Now it is hot air, obviously, but it's still some kind of cooling that's going over the board. But for the CPU, we absolutely had to liquid cool. And this is one of those instances where we had to liquid cool, not we were doing it for brownie points. Liquid cooling is not better than air cooling. It's all about contact, surface area, and flow, right? And that could be air or water. And there's just not enough room for a 1U cooler to fit behind that card and cool a 5950X running at stock speeds. So we had to move that heat out to somewhere else. So we did those tiny radiators.
Yeah, we used the Alpha Cool 60 mil by 30, I believe they are. Little fat boys. It was a triple 60 millimeter
Yeah.
and a double
That might be 40 millimeter thick.
50
may-
millimeter,
Yeah.
I believe. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the actual title or the name of what Alpha Cool uses. It's the Nexos
Yeah.
something.
One's a triple 60 and one's a dual 50.
Yeah.
And originally in the model, we thought that we could use a dual 60 at the bottom.
Right.
But then
So
that card was all wrong.
you could fit the normal dual 60 and get even more cooling capacity.
Yeah.
But our 3090 model was wrong. And so when we actually put the 3090 in the case, we discovered that it was literally 10 millimeters too long for that to work. So we had to go one size smaller, and I'm glad they make it, because that would have kind of broken it.
It worked. We had to redo all the tubing. We went to 1/4 inch, routed it through these tiny little ports inside.
So when you talk about space efficiency, I mean, we didn't have room
There's
for
nothing.
normal
There's no room.
1/4 inch tubing. We had to go to the very small coolants.
Yeah, which is fine.
tubing.
It doesn't restrict anything.
No, I think it does a great job.
Yeah.
And those little radiators are, I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah,
I'd never used one before.
Yeah.
And when we ran it just with the CPU, gaming and everything, the temperatures on the CPU stay pretty low.
Yeah, if you think about it,
that it's such a tiny radiator.
it's 60 times 3, and then 50 times 2. You can do the math, but you work it out. It's actually almost like a 240 millimeter radiator
almost
for the CPU.
And it did great for the 16 core 5950X, and
Yeah.
it still does do great.
Oh yeah, the temps are amazing on the CPU.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
So of course we went all intake to pull as much fresh air in as possible, because we had no space inside. And what else? The other.
I'm gonna put on the desk while I go get them the info.
Let's see what questions we got. L&M brackets.
The power supply capacitors are still going.
So David asks, what is the ETA for videos about the L and M brackets for the Tiny?
The L video is finished, actually. I just need to get it up there. And the S video, I haven't made yet. I think that's what he means. Maybe?
Yeah, I think people are confusing the L and the S.
S is stacked like a tower,
So S would be like what you would see right here, right now.
and L is like the...
Stacked. This one, two of these on top of each other. And then the linked would be 1 and 2. Thinner, like an S4 Mini. So linked, and then the stacked would be more like with the sandwich style layout of the case.
I'm going to send them link to the parts for everything. If you want to talk about, I don't know, what you feel like talking about. Just don't stop talking.
Don't stop talking.
Look at that. Don't move the case out.
You don't want me to move it?
No.
You don't want me to get some
No.
sexy side
No.
angles
They can
from the
look at-
rear and
they
the... Ah, okay. All right. Any more questions? Anybody got any questions about the build specifically, or
Talk about the
other
parts that you missed.
possible variations? With the typical sandwich layout, it isn't a good idea to use a 30 series FE cards. Their designs with rear fan gets choked. Does your design help with the airflow of the rear fan
Yeah,
for the
talk about
3090?
things in the back.
So can I spin it? Okay. So in this particular design, in this setup, the 3090 is sitting here on this side and it's facing down. So the main fan is pulling air in and shooting it straight out the top, and then the bottom fan is pulling air in from the side of the case, and then it's shooting and blowing the hot air over the motherboard, which goes up through other built-in sky slot vents that are also in the GPU bracket that we talked about, that will exit this side. So that there's plenty of venting all throughout this case. On the back of the case, we have sky slots that are cut through the carbon fiber. So the majority of the heat that does hit the motherboard, because they are facing each other, it has the opportunity for the heat to go out the sides, out the front, out the back, and out the top. So there isn't any air getting choked off. in the case. Like I think with the typical sandwich layout, the GPU is actually spun the other way. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it is pulling in fresh air from both sides of the GPU. Another thing that we did that was different than the initial design was we went with a fill port on the outside.
Yes.
And that was mostly because of the fact that it was so difficult to get into the case to fill it up to begin with. And then we had to drain it so many times. So we did go with a fill port on the outside. Doesn't look as clean, but I think in other iterations of the design, it might be possible where we could have some kind of fill port extension. But we like the look of it, and it's functional.
It needs to be easy for the customer to get it and bleed it.
Right. But if you're watching the video, what we did with the GPU was with all the ports at the top, there's about 30 millimeters of space clearance from the side brace. And we used extension cables that are built into the carbon fiber plate on the back so that you can still plug in cables directly to the GPU without having to take the case apart. So we wanted to make it really easy, which is also the reason why we went with the fill port on the outside, to make it really easy to fill. That was a challenge.
We fought over that, actually.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
I didn't want it. I
Came to blows.
in my mind, I was thinking, if you're gonna have this, you got to put some work in to fill it up. You know, but I think now in hindsight, I think it was a good call.
Especially
Definitely think it was
because
a good call.
once you turn it on its side, you have to open that up to bleed it.
Yeah.
It won't work, and it will go indefinitely without bleeding. I found out if it's under pressure, it won't bleed.
And we do have another actual bleed port.
Yeah,
that
drain
we built,
port.
a drain port that we built down into the bottom of the case. And so that helps tremendously as well.
Definitely. And we'll release the 3D files for this too, so you can see how it's put together.
And you might notice that the front panel does not look the same as in the video. And you want to talk about that?
So I don't know what the deal bopper was, but it was running so insanely. It vents so much heat. The thing acts literally like a chimney. It's really incredible. I didn't really expect it to work as well as it does, but the air pulls in and flows up violently. It is very powerful, and that's all great and everything. But the power supply, although there is a gap between the front and the power supply, once it hits that 600 watts, it wants to ramp up and spin, and it spins so fast that it can't. It comes off the bearing because there's not a cutout there on the original one. So it started whining, like started screaming like a banshee. It was so bad. It makes a lot
of noise. And honestly, that was an initial concern when I was designing it, but I was thinking that we would have enough sky slots across the sides. I was thinking that maybe we would have enough areas for the fan to pull in air, but it turned out that the 3090 just pulls so much, and the SFX power supply couldn't keep up, and it was just pulling a lot harder than we initially anticipated.
It was really bad.
So we had to change the design.
Yeah.
So, which is another reason why the build took so long. It was either I'm driving down or Josh is mailing me things.
Yeah.
I'm doing things on my CNC, working things in my shop, mailing it back. Oh, this didn't fit. Mail that back. Oh, that didn't fit. I'll mail it back. I mean, it was just a lot of back and forth. Let me drive down. Let's pick a weekend.
His truck is broken 3 times every time he's driven down. 3 times he came down.
I have an awful truck. It is.
You need to. It's great. You should buy it. You should buy it. He'll give you a deal.
It's haunted.
So we had to work on the truck to get it ready, so we couldn't work on the project. It's a mess. But we ended up with this. And I say we. I actually got to give Eric amazing credit because he got to work immediately finding a solution for the front panel, and he came up with like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Totally different ones and iterations of those. And I'm like, no, this is all terrible, terrible, terrible. And then he came up with this one, and I'm like, bam, that is beautiful. And I had him cut on the side, as you can see, there's these channels on the side. And these channels allow for air to be sucked in even further to reduce the air pressure. But also, in case, once it gets really hot, the air pressure starts going the other way. And hot air actually starts coming out the front on the sides. It's kind of crazy. When it's cold, the convection doesn't overcome the air path. But this has so much heat coming out the top that eventually it reverses direction. Now, speaking of heat, someone asks, Tyrannosaurus Tech asks, is any undervolting going on, GPU or CPU? There's no undervolting on the CPU, which you might think is crazy, but it performs well. It keeps its boost clock up, and the radiator fans don't get loud, and it doesn't get hot. So we decided, you know what, we'll just let it do its thing. And
we left the CPU alone. I think the highest peak temps we were seeing were around 80.
Yeah.
80 C.
And that's with the GPU.
And that's with the GPU blowing hot air right on it. And also the radiators are basically sitting around the GPU itself. And so the radiators do great. We threw Noctua fans in there.
Yep.
You can barely hear those, especially over the 3090.
You literally can't
hear
it.
The 3090 is actually a very quiet card.
For, how much
for its size and for how much air it moves, I'm pretty surprised.
Yeah.
So we did an undervolt on the GPU.
Which was a saga.
Right.
Talk about that.
So the when I had the build, I was doing the undervolt, and then we packaged this bad boy up and I shipped it to Josh. But the settings didn't save in, what are we using? Afterburner. It didn't save in Afterburner for some reason.
It's even worse because you tuned it here, and then it didn't stay. So then I shipped it to you.
I tuned it there.
And then you tuned it there.
And it didn't stay. It wouldn't stick. The settings weren't saving for some reason. And I guess Afterburner changed its when the Windows starts up icon to go ahead and automatically apply the settings. And that wasn't, for some reason, when you click on it, it turns blue, but it wasn't staying blue. And it was, I don't know what was going on with it. But that was a lot of remoting in from the house. I'd be on the laptop remoting into the computer that's here at Josh's house, and I'm in Atlanta, by the way. So but we probably got it worked out. What we ended up doing was bringing down the 3090 to a pretty conservative, didn't really want to push it, but a conservative 1920 clock speed on the core at 0.887 millivolts. And it holds that very well, pretty solid, especially running through benchmarks. And the great thing about it is it pulls even less power, and then it, even less heat. So the GPU, I haven't seen it once, even in this case. I've not seen a 3090 peak up to 80 C. It's been less than 80 every time. 78, but mostly down in the mid 70s. And it just gets enough air. Like, it's just not getting choked. It's not getting starved like you would think that it would with everything being so compact.
So, Stevie asked, are there any AIOs under 92 millimeter? Is the one that was made for the Dan case, the Azactec, was that a 92 millimeter?
That was a 92.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's any 80 ones other than the server ones, which got brought up too. There are 80 millimeter ones for servers. And there are ones that are smaller for servers, but you do not want to go that route because they are so loud, they're so noisy, and they're not really reliable. You got to replace them every year. So I would definitely not bother. Ed says, would love to see this build air-cooled with Sapphire card, of course. This is the fun fact. This design was originally for Sapphire. But there were so many problems with us getting it ready that I had to abandon it. Do something else for Sapphire, which is gonna I'm finished with it. I'm finished with the video. I'm finished with the build. Can't wait to show it to you. But they're waiting for their 20th anniversary or something. But point is that I found another patron that wanted this build, so saved our butts. Because you see in the spreadsheet, this is a very, very expensive computer. It's over $5,000 in just parts. And then there's a ridiculous amount of labor that went into this. So
a ridiculous amount of mistakes.
Oh,
that went into it. But it was fun though. It is.
No, it wasn't.
I enjoyed it. Josh didn't like it.
No.
I enjoyed it for the most part. And I know my wife is watching it. She's probably saying you didn't enjoy it. I did.
Dude, you were so mad so many times.
Well,
and I got more mad than I think I've ever gotten.
Who doesn't get mad though? I mean,
I don't get mad. Usually I don't get mad. I got mad on this project.
Josh gets mad.
On this project. That's how you know I get mad. I was on this project.
It's fair. And still got mad.
He's known me you've known me for this project. So you don't know me without this project. I'm going to be so sweet to you. I mean, you're just not even going to.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna like that. I don't know if I want that. I think I'm just gonna create more and more damaged builds to just sustain this relationship that we have.
No, the reason I was upset, and I'll confess on stream, first it was stress. There's a lot of stress going on with something this expensive, trying to get it for a customer. Like if it was our own project build, whatever, right? But it was for a customer. Two, I was upset because I wanted this to be something that you could buy and build and assemble yourself, right? And that was a complete and total failure. There's no way I would ever recommend that. We do have the parts for it. I do want to sell them because they're so expensive. I can't just afford to have them here at the house. But it was this extremely challenging build. This is the hardest computer I've ever put together.
I think if somebody wanted something similar to this,
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll let you talk about that next. That's important. And the third reason I got mad was because Eric had to learn the lesson that CAD and real life are not the same thing. And I've had to learn the lesson, and I want to tell this now too, because I don't want this to be about shaming you on stream.
that's what it sounds like.
Because I deserve all the shame. Here's my story. I worked with a startup, really cool startup, and I was designing what would eventually become the S3 computer case, but it was for an all-in-one encoding unit, okay? And the company I worked for, the guys that were involved, all top powerhouse people in the industry. I'm the nobody, right? I'm friends with one of these persons, so I had the luxury of being able to work on this project. And one of the people there was one of the engineers who worked on the black box for Boeing's aircraft. It was a company called Cascade Engineering. It was an engineering firm, and he was one of the main minds behind it. So we're sitting down at the table full of all these engineers and they're all friends with my guy who's bringing us to that table at Cascade Engineering. And he says, well, we're probably going to want to get a couple prototypes so we can confirm everything before we go to manufacturing. Now, I was younger then, and I regret all of this, okay? I regret 100% of it. I was a total jerk, and I hate myself back then, and hopefully I can make progress as a human being. But what I said was, well, no, I'm using computer-aided design. So everything that is designed here, I know is going to be accurate down to the last millimeter. I've already test-fitted everything in the computer. So that won't be necessary. And the guy is so humble. He's like, well, that might be true, but in my experience, what you get in real life is never really exactly like it is in CAD. So I'd still recommend that you go get it test fitted first. And I ordered a bunch of cases, and it didn't fit. So
it's true.
That was my
it's so easy to get caught up in
shame.
your design.
Yeah.
You think that why
perfect.
can't you make this exactly like it's designed?
Yeah.
And why can't it come out that way? Like you almost don't want to accept it. I didn't want to accept it.
Yeah, you
It's
did.
like there's no way
Yeah.
that this can't be made the way that it is designed.
Yeah.
And it's gonna turn out perfect. But
You want to get a little closer to the mic too.
for the most part though,
Yeah.
I don't think I think the distro plate was probably the real uncertainty. What were the other parts?
There was nothing that worked or fit. Nothing. I'm going to go through it all, and you add more because this is interesting for the audience. Okay. Nothing worked out of the box. Nothing. So how you make this, in theory, is you take an S4T chassis inner frame, and you bolt 4 of them together. That's why it's called quad damage. 4 S4Ts. Bolt them together. Then you put the side panels on, and then you put the bracket in there first. Okay, so the first thing didn't work was the side panels. For whatever reason, the factory offset the non-cutout side, the one opposite from this one, mounting holes. So they wouldn't bolt to the frame. And these panels are unbelievably expensive. They're CNC machined. They're precision anodized. They're extremely expensive if you're just buying one set of them. They're not included in the tally, by the way. The tally is just what it would cost you. I say computer case, $600, something like that. That's what if you would buy the parts for it. But for me, this is thousands of dollars. So that didn't work. So we had to drill the chassis, file the chassis, make different mounts for those holes. Right. You had to figure out how to offset that. You're a genius, by the way, because I still can't figure it out. When you came back to assemble it later, you couldn't even remember how you did it. That's how crazy.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think I was in a daze. I think I drove down. It was a long day.
It's so confusing.
It was just I got it, did it, and then I left immediately. And then when I came back 2 or 3 weeks later, I was like, I don't even know what I did. And that took half a day.
We made the rear for this out of acrylic to start. That was a joke.
That was going to work.
With the plugging the stuff in, and it would flex, it bent, it would warp. So we had to make it out of 3 millimeter thick carbon fiber plate, which is overkill. But I was taking no chances. So that was a complete redo. The SFX bracket, completely new design. We got it, put it in there with the 3090, and it was so heavy, it was sagging and bending. So you printed off 3 printed bracers that cradle it to keep it super stiff. And that kind of sort of worked, but we went with a completely new bracket and then also used the reinforcement just because we had them, because they're cool. Good engineering.
Well, we thought that the manufacturer couldn't do the bend that we wanted.
Yeah.
And so we had to design the bracket with the idea that the manufacturer couldn't do it the way that we originally intended. And by doing that, it made it too weak. And then later it turned out the manufacturer decided, oh yeah, we could do that. So they did, finally, after we had already made a prototype. That turned out well.
Can I look for here, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe, I can't really, dang it.
Put it against the shirt.
Maybe here? Okay, here we go, right here. So the original design, we had to put this, I forget what the term is. We couldn't do a jog. We put this bend up here, we had this cut out. Forget what the terminology is.
I can't remember the terminology for it either, but they said that they couldn't do.
Yeah, there was a problem with this particular flange design, but they did it with a special fixture, and they were able to get that whole beefy bend done. There was also some other considerations, like with the distance, the power supply. The power supply was too close to the frame, so you had to notch out the frame.
Yeah,
to get that to fit.
That's because the holes were not lined up.
And we had to have extra room because the graphics card was 10 millimeters taller and 20 millimeters longer than the 3D model. Yep. So we had to move everything around again, cut stuff up.
And we barely had space for that. And that's why we had to move the power supply, was because the GPU was wider than we initially thought it was, and we had to slide it forward. So we did that, and then we made the changes.
Yeah.
But the bracket turned out great. But that 3090, what is that, 1.6? Or did we do it out of 2?
This is 1.6 millimeter. Yeah.
And is it tempered, or was it just normal aluminum?
This is normal aluminum. Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, the 3090 was pulling it so hard that it was bending it, even with all the mounting points we had. So we did have to create bracers that, luckily, we had perfect spots for.
They're all hidden.
It was just wasted space, and you can't even see them.
You can't see them when you look through the vents.
So we put those in just because, and that fixed that issue right away.
The front bezel we redid several times. I'm not talking about this part. Obviously, we just talked about it early in the stream, but the plastic red stuff, I machined twice because I botched the polishing of the first time and took too much off the edge of the corner. So just scrap it, remake that all from scratch. The top plate, which you can't see here in the video, but we originally did out of red acrylic because it looked really neat. But it got so hot off the top that it would actually flex and bow up. So we're like, well, we got to have this done out of aluminum. So we made that out of aluminum.
Yeah, it sit nice and flat, and then as you would game and the system would heat up, it would rise like this. And then when you turn it off and you shut it down, when you come back the next morning, it's back flat again. So we were like, we got to do something about that.
We had to remake the little feet over again.
Yeah.
I mean, we've remade every part on this. And then the worst part was when we got it all together, or mostly together, we realized that we couldn't plug the power cable into the 3090 because the radiator now was covering the 3090 port.
Hate the NVIDIA 12-pin at
an
angle.
Horrible.
It's for this build, you couldn't have put it in a worse spot. It would have been phenomenal had it been at the end.
Yeah.
Like every other GPU. But it wasn't. So we had to create a custom.
We had to make one from scratch. And here's the thing about that.
We had to rebuild it.
here's the thing about that. This is very scary in case you are a sleever or a depinner. We looked up those pins, right? Whatever they're called. I forget what they're called. I'll put them in the description later.
Micro 12 pin. I can't remember.
No, they're special. They're
Yeah.
not micro 12 or micro
the same.
mini fit jewelry pins. So you have NVIDIA has a very special connector, which you probably read about, and those little pins are capable of delivering like a ridiculous amount of amperage each. And when you go to search for them and buy them at mod shops and different places online, you will get them, and the picture will look very similar. Those ones that you get from those mod shops, if they're not the exact spec ones that NVIDIA put out, are capable of like 1/8 the amperage. You cannot bait and switch people on something as important as that. Those connectors make all the difference in the world. So that I got them in, I'd buy some more, they'd be wrong. I finally, because you can't just buy,
Right.
you have to buy like what, 20,000, like a spool of 25,000 to get the ones.
Well, especially when we were trying to get them.
Yeah, like
The
brand
3090
new.
was brand new.
Yeah.
And the new 12 pin power was new. Nobody was selling it.
Yeah.
Like, we had to dig deep on Google and try to find some place online that had these pins.
So be wary if you're buying like, especially like extension cables or cheap ones on you see on Amazon. I would not trust those at all because you can't be sure they're the actual pins, and this card pulls so much that you could end up with a very bad day. So just stuff like that. Everything we redid over again. Everything. And then like the third block leaked. The third block leaked.
Oh, and then we had a disaster. That was a disaster.
Fluid port
that was a bad day.
in the 5950X socket.
We had just gotten it together. We were feeling great.
Yeah.
We were feeling great. We were high. I mean, not literally.
Well,
But
literally.
we were feeling awesome. We were confident. This is gonna work. We solved it. We got it. Yeah, and we plugged everything in and we hit the power button, and water went everywhere. And it turns out that when we tapped the G1 quarter ports, they were hand tapped, and they were not as perfect as they needed to be. So the seals weren't even touching them. So the water was just shooting, and our hearts just sank. I mean, I thought we lost the whole build. I thought the CPU was done. I thought the motherboard was done. I thought the GPU had just gotten showered.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were using the coolants,
Yeah.
clear,
The
low connectivity fluid.
This stuff saved our butts, but it poured all through the socket. I got the socket taken out. This is 705, coolant 705.
This is great stuff.
Yeah.
We were pretty lucky. I think, can't remember if it was you or me that grabbed the power cord so fast and just ripped it right out, and then we immediately disassembled it, pulled everything apart.
Everything, every little heat sink, every little tiny little detail.
And then it was
Use electronics cleaner on everything.
and then I had to leave.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, have fun, Josh.
It was just this wreck of a computer spread all across.
So then I had to drive home. So that was fun. I forgot about that. That was pretty disastrous.
And then I had to thank you because honestly, after that, getting it all cleaned up, I mean, I would walk past it all on that side of my bench, cover the entire bench. I'd be like, I can't do this. I cannot handle this anymore. So I said, I'm not going to even finish this. I'm going to just write this off. I was so frustrated that I've never been as done on this build. But he said, I'll do it. It's too cool to abandon. So I sent to Eric.
Yep.
And
I came down and got it.
It's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came down and got it.
I came down just to pick it up,
He got it
which is great.
put together. Not finished because this thing is haunted, but he got it put back. He got me reinterested in finishing it again because he did such a great job assembling it, and I was ready to rock and roll.
But we did it.
Yeah.
We did it, and here we are. I would do it again.
David says,
do it.
"Oh, I hate this 5K PC market." I mean, come on. No, I get it. We only do like 2 expensive builds like this a year. Most of our builds are very affordable. I mean, look at our APU builds, for example. We like cheap hardware. That's why my side of small form factor is I like to make the most inexpensive just enough to get my tasks done on PC. That's like my favorite way to mod. But every now and then I do a big project like this. This is a big project. So, you know,
And do you really need a 3090?
3090, 5950X.
Does anybody really need a 3090?
So it just kind of how it is. Don't get frustrated. We have lots of stuff on our channel, but you know, people want to see the crazy stuff. So, and the big challenge was after we got it all together, we kind of just assumed it was going to not overheat because on the test bench it was fine, but compacted all together, that was kind of scary. But it does work great.
Yeah, it does.
Somebody asked what the temps are under load. I have a very hot office, as Eric's been complaining about. It's usually about 79 degrees Fahrenheit in here, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's about what the CPU was running at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The CPU was getting to about 80 Celsius.
Sorry,
And
Fahrenheit Celsius are different.
it's a 16 core
Yeah.
on these two little radiators.
Yeah.
And that's no undervolt. It's just stock speeds for the 5950X. We didn't change any of that. The only thing we did was we ran the RAM that we had. We tightened up the timings and ran it at 3600 megahertz. And the GPU is what we undervolted. So the GPU doesn't get rare to see it go over 75, which I was really surprised. But we did undervolt that.
Yeah.
And then the 5950X was hanging out 80, 83, I think was the highest I saw at one point. And that was after about, 35, 40-minute run, benchmarkings, and just letting it go continuous and heating this. This is actually a small room.
Yeah.
But
people think I'm really short and this is a big room, but I'm actually really tall and it's a really short room.
Josh is a tall guy. Josh is like 6'9". Oh, he's not that tall, but I'm 5'10", just for reference. I was surprised too when I met him. I was like, because I'd only seen you and talked to you. Like I'd seen your videos and we'd only chatted and we had talked on the phone when we first met for actually the beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Hey Andrew, thank you for putting that down there. I appreciate that because that's kind of my philosophy with the S4T, especially the APU. So you have a luxury computer case, so it's really nice and feels awesome, but practical hardware on the inside. And I know a lot of people are really disappointed over the 5600X, not 5600X,
the 5700G,
5600G,
and the 5700G.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I'm not disappointed at all in them. They're what I expected, to be honest, and I like them. I like them fine. And I get that, if you have space for a graphics card, you should probably buy a graphics card, but that's not the point of it. It's a nice CPU with decent graphic capabilities. And I play Civilization. I play a ton of indie games that are 2D. I play Age of Kings, StarCraft, World of Warcraft. I don't need crazy, and that's all at 4K. I don't need crazy graphics.
I think if you're looking to get into an AP build right now, the 5600 or 5700G would be a great stepping stone to get you through to next year when the other more powerful APUs come out. And, we got RDNA 2 baked in.
That's going to have to come with new RAM, though.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, it's been selling out at stores because I got one really easy.
Yeah.
No problem. And I didn't order the day of. But I didn't seem to have an issue, and I didn't look. I haven't looked on eBay. I haven't noticed if the prices are skyrocketing, which would be interesting to know because we do have people that want to do these builds.
Even the 4750G, is that the correct term? The industrial APU. I just did a build for somebody with it, but that wasn't even hard to find. You can't buy it in stores, right? Technically, but you go online, you just search for it, you can buy it. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited about that. Speaking of S4T, there's a lot more to talk about this, but we don't need to go on forever. I kind of want to show you some S4T stuff. So I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to remind everybody that if you want to do this build, I don't know if I'm going to put the parts on the website because I don't want people getting in over their head and then wanting to return it and get frustrated. So instead, email us, and we do have parts for it, and we can help you with the build. So whenever you order any of our products, we have first tier customer support. You email us and we respond back. But this is going to require something really special if you do find it interesting. And there's different ones. Eric will post pictures and stuff later, but you can do one with that's fully liquid cooled, GPU included. If you don't have a awesome 3090 Founders Edition, you have like 4 variants of this thing.
I got busy. I got busy with it.
Oh, here's the back. I'll show it why it's off.
Or if you guys didn't want to do it yourself, I mean, it's something that one of us could do. We could easily put it together since we've already been through
Hell,
as Josh likes to say. Since we're seasoned veterans at quad damage, we could do it for you.
All right.
What other questions we got? Andrew asks not to take too much attention away from the quad build. No, that's fine, you're not. But on the note of the 5700D, have you guys overclocked yours? I have not. I haven't even played with it, but I do plan on overclocking it and water cooling it, and I'm gonna try to fit it all in an S4T. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have an idea for that as well. You can actually put a really sick cooling system in this, especially if you run a brick. You don't have to do it, but you can put an actual really good cooling system in it. I want you to put together your stand. Your sexy, sexy stand.
Just looking at any more questions real quick, see if... let's see, David asked, how bad would it be if I stuck filters over the sky slots? Would airflow stop flowing?
You need every single little bit of airflow possible. You do.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how dusty your house is.
It doesn't matter.
But maybe probably wouldn't last more than 12 hours of running.
Look, there's practical builds. Go buy a practical computer case, you know? This is not a this is very functional, but there's going to be some caveats. And one of them is that you cannot cover the air filters, the air slots on it. The sky slots. TM.
TM. Just making sure we're not missing any questions.
No, but before we finish the AP, I want to bring up again, a lot of people are frustrated that AMD didn't release an RDNA 2 chip that's faster, like in the Steam Majigger?
Steam Deck.
It's the Steam Deck or the Xbox. But there's something that I think we need to consider as well, and that's there's not RAM fast enough right now to take advantage of it. And that's why the Xbox and the Steam Deck can do what they do. So we are not going to see an RDNA 2 chip that's the same performance until we have GDDR5 on RAM modules. They call it DDR5, right?
DDR5.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, but you need faster RAM.
GDDR6.
Yeah.
And GDDR6X. And then I guess they're going to go to 7. Who knows?
Well, we need faster
But the way
RAM.
Intel's changing the name and scheme of everything and like all their nodes, who knows what we're going to end up with. I think we should all just start off at 0. Like, should we just start off go back to 1? Let's go back to Ryzen 1. You know, let's go to was there ever there should be an i1 now and an i2 and an i3.
Can you get on assembling this real quick for me? I'll let you put this together. Show them this beautiful
I'll answer
inlaid.
Oh, yeah.
Granadillo.
I made this for Josh. Titanium inlay, polished it up. It's on Granadillo. If you guys don't know about Granadillo, it's a premium exotic hardwood. They make violins, guitars out of this stuff. It has a Janka hardness that's 28 to 3400, depending on what website you go on. It cuts like acrylic. And it just has so much depth, so much texture to it. You can't. I doubt you could even see this on the camera.
You can't on the live stream.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to show too much stuff off because I don't want people to get
phenomenal stuff. Don't necessarily offer this mainstream, and the reason why is because we'll talk about that in a second. But I can do custom jobs to do that. And then Andrew asked, how hard is it to do the inlays on the front bezels? Meteorite one especially is ridiculous.
It's very difficult, and you need to hire an expert like him to do it. Don't try it at home. Shop nfc-systems.com/store.
It is tricky.
No, it's actually store.nfcsystems.com.
It is tricky. It does take time. So that's why, guys, there is a queue currently on a lot of the custom work that we're doing. First come, first serve. Go ahead and get in line.
I want to talk about your stand while you're putting this together.
Get going. Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Because this is awesome. I'm going to make an actual video for this because it deserves it. And you can't see the quality of this piece on a live stream. But I've wanted to have a stand and a leather strap for my Skyreach 4 Mini since I made it. And I actually made it with provisions to put a stand and a strap on because everybody wants a stand. I don't really think that the Mini doesn't need a stand, but everybody wants one. And I want a leather strap. But I could not come up with a design that I liked, that looked cool. And now I'm revealing Eric's design. And it is absolutely so beautiful that I'm speechless. The Grandillo polish on this, unbelievable. It has a satin finish to it. And we have carbon fiber that we found that has this perfect satin finish well, which matches the wood exactly. So if you're holding this piece, it's unreal. It just looks and feels incredible. And Eric kind of got butthurt over this because he submitted a design to me that was almost here, but it wasn't quite. And I said, no, don't do that. Try this instead. And you gave up on it.
I was.
You were so mad.
I had a design.
Yeah.
That I had been thinking of.
Yeah.
For so long, and you know, I'm up late at night. I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Got this idea. I'm leaping out of bed, running in a computer room, and trying to make this. And I thought I had it perfect. I was like, this is it. This is it, Josh. You're gonna love it. And he loved it, but
it's not perfect.
He had good, honest criticism, and you know how it gets. We all get that way when you make something, and then someone has criticism. It's hard to take. It's hard to take. So I had to swallow my ego, and I'm glad I did because we made the changes to it.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up because I'm so honored and proud of you. You know that you could see past that and come up with something that was truly magical because this is perfect. I absolutely love this. I can't wait so people that appreciate nice things can get it. I love how it has that staggered hexagonal look when you look at it right here. See how it matches the inside?
Yeah.
Profile. Like it is so awesome looking.
Are you guys seeing this right now? I'm like an elf. I'm like so. You're so tall. I'm on my tippy toes putting together an S4T.
And you're wearing shoes. I'm barefoot. But
yes, Joe, we don't talk about that.
You nailed this. I'm so proud that this is an NFC product. I can't even explain it. I'm excited about this stand as much as I'm excited about the S4T. It just is so gorgeous looking.
Did you tell them what it's called?
No, because I'm not going to talk about that yet.
Oh, well,
there's some things I need to talk about.
Okay.
Form because we don't agree on that yet.
We don't agree on.
We don't agree on it, but
of course not.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not. Let's go with this one. Can anybody guess what this is? How about that?
What?
Oh wait, you already told them about it, didn't you?
The stand? Yeah, I've been talking to why you've been putting it together.
Oh, you know what?
Well, since you didn't get it done fast enough, what we'll do instead...
I assembled this for you ahead of time, and that's not typically how you put this together. So, I'm sorry, guys. 4 more screws. Just lost a screw. Can you find that screw, or just give me an extra one?
Okay.
You want to do the honors on this?
I'll put the carbon fiber part on. I'm just annoyed that the live stream quality is so bad. I didn't want to introduce this because of it on the live stream because I want people to see the photography and the video work on this. It's just so well crafted. I'm going to hold it up once you get this next one in there too. Not that they can see anything, but I want to talk like they can.
It's all good.
So the Granadillo piece right here has the rubber feet already built into it on this part, and then the carbon fiber parts have holes that go through it, which also line up over those, which I just think just adds more layers of precision craftsmanship. There are little brass nutserts here and here for when you put the carbon fiber in so it doesn't tear out if you knock the case left or right. They're in there really solidly. There's also some magnets in this base as well, which I'm going to talk about next. You can put the carbon fiber on while I cue them up for that.
Raj.
This right here, I can't demonstrate this to you, but I want to show you guys on the stream. This right here is the second part of the stand and why I think this is such an amazing product and so genius. And I can say that without being pampering myself because I didn't come up with it. It was all Eric. But this right here, I'm not going to tell you the name yet, is a piece, aluminum top and Granadillo base that you bolt to the underside of your desk or the ceiling or the wall or whatever. But what it allows you to do, this part would go on your Mini, and we map them for the S4M and the S4T, and it clicks in and the magnets lock together. So you can have a detachable Mini that goes underneath the desk. Super simple. It holds up like 150 pounds. Super stable. And I just love how it feels and clicks with those magnets. It is so awesome. Joe asked if I'm going to release some B-roll of it. Yeah, this is going to have its own video because people need to see how pretty this is. I'm really, really, I say proud of it. I didn't come up with it, but I'm proud that it has the NFC logo on it. So, but I love this so much. And this is just unbelievably awesome. I cannot wait for my APU build to go in this. I gotta put the light on, I think, so they can see the carbon fiber, the angles. But man, this thing is just so dope, Eric. Really, really excited about it.
I'm excited. It's gonna be great. So there's your vertical stand.
Yep, that people have been dying
and then
for.
some.
So if you have cats, you can put it on your desk and not be worried about that so much anymore.
Yeah.
I've never had a Mini fall over on me, even at a LAN party, but it looks so good. It's just one of those things that I'd have to buy for myself. And it's also for the S4M too. So if you have an S4M, you can order the stand now from Eric.
Yeah.
What a little cool computer. Anyway.
I think it's an awesome computer.
I don't want to pat myself in the back too much, but I'm excited about it. It was a passion project. It's not popular by any means. It's like a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche. I don't know if we could ever make more of them because I don't think enough people are going to be interested in it. But you know what? I was interested in it. And I appreciate your help in making it happen. So I want to thank everybody for coming to the stream today. For all your support, all my Patreons who I see in the chat constantly, familiar names. I really, really think you guys are awesome. And thank you for making me have my dream job. And Eric.
Yeah, thank you.
So, if you have any last questions before we wrap this up, just let us know. Alvin asked how much money these parts are. I don't know if you have a price for them yet.
I do. Should I disclose all that? Or?
If you want to ballpark it, yeah.
Mm.
But we'll have the prices soon. Now that it's released, you can share stuff on Discord and all that.
So I will. Well, what about the name?
The names are no. The names, I have to work that stuff out.
Oh wait. Well, I will say that the pricing has already been determined on both of these. It's this or that, and they both work interchangeably with each other.
Yeah.
the nice thing about the pricing is that there will be an option that if you buy this, you can upgrade to that without having to pay the full price of that. So, and then the other way too. If you buy this first, then you do have the option to go into this. So, I have been very busy, especially with you guys' custom orders on a lot of the bezels and things like that. And in between doing these jobs, I'm cranking these out. So I already have a good amount for the S4 Mini especially, and the S4T will be more of a catch up. But if you have an S4 Mini right now, these are here. These are available. If you have the S4T, that'll have to fall into more of the Q line as I try to ramp up production.
Infomercial. Oliver asks the release date for the pancake stacked S4. That is the S4T-S, right? Now I'm confused.
That is the S4T
S.
-S. So
Right.
S stacked, L linked.
So
It's
the
not your
reason
guys' fault. We made it confusing.
I pulled it is because I didn't order enough of the side braces in the aluminum, so I ran out. So I need to repackage and everything. But we got carbon fiber cut, the same matte carbon fiber that matches the matte on everything, how we polish our wood, and also the Mini. So it looks really natural next to it, and we're gonna go with that for the S kit. So it will be releasing very soon. I just got to put the legwork in, probably this week, to be honest. Now that I have it, the only thing though is that I got to figure out when we're doing about the screws, because they were not countersunk. So we got to find something that looks nice.
Or countersink every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. You could do it on a CNC, but you can't do it on the drill press because it could fray the edges on a drill press. So
Yeah.
that's an oversight. I'm bummed about it.
I did do these.
Yeah.
Countersunk those on the CNC.
Yeah.
So
On the CNC, it works great.
Yeah, that turned out really well.
Yeah. CNC, it works great.
Looks like you guys are great. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mick. Appreciate that.
Andrew, we're going to be using Granadillo for the base for now because it's the only wood that's really strong enough. I also want to use Purple Heart because I have a bunch of that and it would look amazing. This is a darker Granadillo, right, than this one?
Yeah, that's the thing about the Granadillo is there's such variation in the wood, and that's what makes it really beautiful. When I cut these, typically about 6 at a time, I'm really impressed with the variety in the different types of wood.
It's
so
probably good to order a front bezel and the base at the same time, right? It's going to be of the same kind of wood.
That way I can kind of maybe match it a little bit better.
But you can send photos.
Yeah.
And we'll try to do the best you possibly can. But
I do have plans maybe down the line, maybe offering them in acrylic. I have experimented with cutting those, but we'll see. But for right now, Granadillo is just perfect to machine, and it just looks beautiful. Yeah, I'm telling you, you guys, it's not, the video doesn't do it justice.
Okay,
it's
we're
a beautiful
repeating ourselves now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for everything. And
Thanks, guys.
God bless you. Stay safe. And you can smile and wave, I guess.
Thanks, guys.